Welcome to the Heartification podcast, where I interview people on how art has affected their lives and what it means to them. Art has a very special place in my life. It not only makes me feel happy, but it allows me to make others feel special. This podcast is all about how art has made an impact on others' lives, for all ages, all backgrounds, and all walks of life. You can find more about this podcast guest in my show notes. Without further ado, let's welcome my next guest. He is a serial entrepreneur. Please look on my next guest, Mike Feldstein. Hi, thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure.
So the first question I always ask is, how do you define art?
I define art as pretty much any way that you can express yourself creatively, whether that is music, creating a product, building a home, a new interesting way of doing something, pretty much anything that is the output of the creative process.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. Like, I totally feel like my definition is any way you're able to express yourself and just like, let out your emotions, which is exactly what you said. And what art forms are you exposed to?
I guess a little bit of music. It depends what kind of exposure you're referring to, but I would say, yeah, music, products, in terms of inventing things and the creative process behind that. A lot of architectural art. I like to build and design homes. Yeah, so for me, I guess by both of our definitions, I'm exposed to it everywhere I go. I would say even this drink is an expression of the smoothie bar's art, and this bowl of lunch was an expression of the chef's art. So I think it's just everywhere, all the time, everything.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. That's awesome. And how do you use creativity in what you do?
I use it for everything. I use it for product design. I use it for sales. I use it for marketing. I hate boring. One of our core values is fun. Everything we do as a company has to be all about fun. If people aren't having fun, then they shouldn't be working here, and we shouldn't be working together, because if it's not fun, then what's the point?
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. And how have you used creative solutions that had you provide disaster relief to the communities that needed it most?
I had basically no money when I went to Calgary to deal with the flood, and I had to do just under about $500,000 worth of work in 6 weeks with no money. In Fort McMurray, a lot more than that. And had to be really creative to create strategic relationships with other businesses that they had the resources. So I've always been really good at creating strategic partnerships and relationships really quickly. So if there's a hailstorm or a windstorm and 5,000 roofs in a city are damaged, it wouldn't be feasible for me to go and hire 100 roofers. So I will creatively find roofers who are located 2 or 3 hours away in smaller towns, and I would bring them into that town. I would pay for their hotel. So now all of a sudden I have this amazing workforce that is able to manage itself and take care of its own supplies. And that same principle applies to floods and fires. And even my business now, we only have 2 employees, really, like full-time employees, but we have hundreds of people working through all of our different contractor networks. So I think nowadays, especially in the remote world, you can really leverage other people and their own resources. And if you can be creative while leveraging other people's resources, you can get a lot of stuff done without risking a lot of money and going into debt. Never mind much better management power because you're working with other businesses.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. Can you tell me about the time you used your creativity when designing a website that got you interviews as a local company, even though you were not local?
Sure. So in that case, it's all about the branding and your name. So my secret sauce is I want to have the name like a geographic region. So if I just started like ABC Roofing, no one knows what that means. So when I went into California, I was Cali Fire Restoration. If I went into Houston for the flood, I was Houston flood experts. I was Alberta fire restoration. So always quickly using a local name in your brand allows you to leverage a lot of the localness just because it's in your name. No one would ever expect Alberta Fire Restoration as a Toronto company. Or California Fire Restoration is a Canadian company. So by using the names and the logos and the branding to cater to the situation that you're dealing with. And also the other thing I would do is I always hire local. So even though I'm not local, I would always hire local people from the community. And that was always a big part of it as well. And I always kept our brands really, really, really simple. So if there's a flood, there's no page about mold removal and construction. It's just flood services, call now. So single image, big headlines, local name, simple pictures, and that playbook is, and a local phone number. Always a local phone number. No 1-800s, local phone number in that community. And that's pretty much, and the last step is if you can find a virtual office that you can rent in that area. So if people go to your website, you actually have an address in town, a local phone number, a local name. That's all you need to be treated as local.
Yeah, that's amazing. And how did you use creative solutions to purify the air to solve a problem?
I believe in first principles thinking. I'm not sure. Do you know much about first principles thinking?
Not much, no.
I would recommend Googling first principles thinking. A guy named Ray Dalio has a really great book on that. But I looked at, I don't look at any of the other products that exist for inspiration of what to do. I look at them for an inspiration of what not to do. So I say, what's this ideal outcome that I would like to achieve? And where is everybody else going wrong right now? So when it comes to air filtration, the only thing that matters is you have a lot of air moving and a good filter. So I focused, and I really wanted to be made out of metal because plastic is terrible for the environment and doesn't last very long. So I used a very simple steel shell, a huge fan, a huge motor, and a big filter, and basically just combined already existing technologies. And by having a large purifier, which most people would think you don't want a big one, it would take up too much space. But if you have a small one, it needs to be really loud because it's got to spin fast. But if you have a big unit, the fan can move really slowly, quietly, and still achieve the same result. So to us, it was just bigger, metal, keep it simple. So it was actually funny because sometimes there's simplicity and creativity. When other people are going complex, you could go simple. And that's kind of what I've always liked.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. And I like how you said when other people are like doing one thing, you can go the opposite way. And I think that also is like with creativity, you need to be different from all the other businesses who do the same thing so that people will be, attracted to your business instead of hiring some other company.
I agree.
And art can be therapeutic and it can help people through difficult situations. So has art ever helped you through a difficult situation? And can you give an example?
Can you give me an example?
Me? Like you want to me tell you?
Yeah, just so to preface the question better.
Yeah,
in
sure.
terms of art being therapeutic, I'm not connecting a dot here. So
Yeah,
it'd be awesome if you give me an example.
I can talk about a little and give an example. So basically, art is used a lot in like therapy and stuff to help people, express their emotions and let out their emotions. And people can do that by painting or writing a song. So I'm just asking you if you can give me an example or talk about a time where art has helped you through a difficult situation.
I can't think of anything super particular other than when there's problems like fires and floods and viruses and things of this effect. Instead of, I'm an entrepreneur, so I look at these problems as opportunities and ways to make the world better by solving these problems or help solve them. So to me, it's more been like the art of business, the art of entrepreneurship has allowed me to instead of just sitting on the sidelines and staying home, I've been able to use my creative abilities to create solutions instead of waiting for the pandemic to be over, waiting for the flood to be over. Let's go and try to make it more comfortable and get over it quicker. So I would say the art of entrepreneurship is how I've always used it, and I've used it for floods, fires, hurricanes, hailstorms, power outages, ice storms, now a pandemic, a virus. So yeah, to me, art of entrepreneurship, and that's taken shape in many forms.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. And are you attracted to any particular artist?
Isn't everybody an artist?
Yeah, I love that.
Because if we're going by our definitions, I would say everybody's an artist. When I quickly think of what comes to mind, I would say Elon Musk, actually. I think that guy is awesome. The way he's created his solar solutions and Teslas and so many super innovative products also look beautiful. Apple has a brand, is pretty amazing. Dyson has a brand, although they're not always so effective, all their products, but they make the unbeautiful beautiful. And then there's a couple architects that I like as well. But if I had to pick one, I would say Elon.
Yeah, that's awesome. And are you attracted to any particular art form?
Probably product design. For me, less. I'm not a huge music guy. I'm not a huge two-dimensional painting guy. I like video. I love video. I love when great video production can match with a really good script to create a powerful storytelling experience. So yeah, I suppose I'm attracted and compelled to physical things, whether that's products, architectural, real estate kind of stuff, and then also video.
Yeah, that's amazing. And my certification project is all about giving back to the community. So how do you give back to the community?
How do I give back? I donate a lot of air purifiers and continuing to do more. So my community in Kelowna is I'm in Whistler right now because Kelowna is covered in toxic smoke. We have fires everywhere and smoke. So I strategically gift purifiers to those in need. I'm going to continue to do that more, like meeting with whether it's shelters or religious groups, or if I find out about a family who has a really sick kid that can't afford something for clean air. So I like to give the gift of clean air.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. I love that. And how would you like people to get in touch with you?
I try to get in touch pretty much. I like to hide under my little rock and speak to as few humans as possible these days. But if people want to see what I'm up to, my website, mikefeld.com, is kind of static. It tells a bit about my story, but I'll be writing on there more and more in the future. And that's mikefeld.com.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on my podcast.
My pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Remember, if you want to find out more about this guest, please go to my show notes where I have all the links needed. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to my podcast series and help me by sharing it, leaving a rating, and a comment. I hope you join me on my next podcast. Bye for now.